Hello, everyone, and happy Saturday. Unless you're watching the replay, then happy whatever day it is for you. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Xana K, and this is another episode of Grizzly True Crime where we are covering the Idaho case. We're going to look at some of the latest factual updates. I know there's been a lot going on in this case, still for quite a few weeks. I've of course been following along and watching it, but today I'm bringing you factual information, documents, things like that. So thank you for being here if that's what you like. If you do like it, remember to like the video. Please share it as well. You can use the hashtag Idaho Students. See, Idaho 4 is still being used as well. And you can also use Grizzly True Crime. Thank you so much, Carolyn. Really appreciate it. It's nice to see you all. And remember, if you're not subscribed yet, even if you're just lurking, please subscribe, hit the bell so you don't miss the next live stream or upload or whatever I've got for you. So I'm always following lots of cases and keeping you guys updated. So make sure you do that. Okay, so let's first start with this. They say the accused Idaho killer Bryan Kohberger allegedly had pictures of victim on his phone source. So now this is, I would say, the least factual information I have for the day. The rest is going to be documents and the house updates and things like that. This, we don't know which victim. It's something that people reported. I saw that News Nation also talked about it. So I'm not too sure about it, but they say the man accused of killing 4 University of Idaho students last November allegedly had pictures of one of the female victims on his phone, a source familiar with the investigation tells People. A phone that belonged to Bryan Kohberger was collected after his arrest. According to the source, authorities found pictures of the victim on the device. The source did not specify whether they were photos that he had taken of her or if they were downloaded from her social media. So they keep saying her, of course, so it would be one of the female victims. They say he had more than one picture of her. The source says it was clear that he was paying attention to her. So we've covered that. Now, let's get into this update here. Thank you to everyone that emailed this to me. I really appreciate it as well that you guys, even though I do follow the news and in multiple cases, thank you for everyone who sent this to me as well as the pictures and things. So let's have a look. They say, house where 4 University of Idaho students were killed will be demolished. I would love to see your feelings about this. I heard that they're going to be asking the students at the University of Idaho what they think should happen with this space. I've seen a lot of cases where, let's say in the Watts case, right? That house has actually been sold to a family that has moved in, and they're pouring all their love into that home, filling the home with love again. And we've seen, for instance, where Jeffrey Dahmer lived in that apartment block. Well, that entire apartment block got demolished, and they planned to make a garden and like a memorial, but they never did. They never really did, And so I wonder what will happen with the space. Sometimes, I don't know. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. When they demolish it or say they're going to make a memorial, I'm not sure what they'll do here. I'm just checking what you guys are seeing as well. Saying. Okay. So, they say the off-campus residence where 4 University of Idaho students were found dead in November will be demolished, the school said on Friday. The owner of the 3-story King Street house where the bodies of Xana Kernodle, Ethan Chapin, Madison Mogen, and Kaylee Goncalves were found, offered it to the university, which is very, very kind. The offer was accepted by the university. The school decided to get rid of the structure, which is located blocks away from campus, University President Scott Green said in a statement. So Colleen said, demolish it. Who would want to live in that place knowing what happened? I think that would be pretty scary, right? And of course, they don't want it to be, you know what I heard today? I'll continue reading this now. But they're saying that there's TikTokers. Come on, TikTokers going there to do TikTok dances to trendy TikTok songs there at the house. So they want to stop all that kind of behavior as well, of making it like a cool haunted house or something, or a place to do your TikTok dances. I don't get it. Like, what is happening to humanity? Why are people doing that? Richard says, make it a beautiful place of remembrance. Oh man, Fletch says bricks from the house will end up on eBay. I'm just checking what you guys are suggesting as well. And he says, yes, demolish the place and make a memorial. So, I mean, one thing I was thinking of is like a library. That could be cool, but then again, it'll be like people will go that, they'll say it's like a haunted library, spooky library, so maybe not. And maybe it'll stress people out, if they want to go to the library there. Another idea would be to make it like a lab, like a science lab. That could be interesting too. Yay, the docket is here. Everyone, this is the docket. Thank you so much for being here. The docket is our document hunter. So go subscribe to him. He's got a YouTube channel. You could just click on there at the docket 71. Okay, HJ says, I think they should build a beautiful fountain. I do think water has got really nice healing energy. So a beautiful fountain could be nice as well. Of course, in winter, I think it would probably freeze, right? And would be all icy in winter, but in summer, it could look really nice. Richard says, puck off TikTokers. I know, right? Interesting. An amphitheater? Interesting. So make sure whenever you watching this, whether it's now live with me or afterwards, please leave in the comments what you would suggest. It's just interesting to hear what you guys think. All right, so back to the article. They say the slayings rocked the small community of Moscow, where investigators grappled with what the town's police chief would later describe as a very complex case. This is a healing step and removes the physical structure where the crime that shook our community was committed, Green said. Demolition also removes efforts to further sensationalize the crime scene. Southwest 4x4 Explorer says, how about a pretty dog park? That is very nice. I like that idea a lot. Thank you so much for that. So the university is also evaluating options where students may be involved in the future development of the property. Scholarships in honor of 3 of the students have been established and a 4th is in the works, Green said. A plan to create a memorial is also being developed. We will never forget Xana, Ethan, Madison, and Kaylee, and I will do everything in my power to protect their dignity and respect in their memory, Green said. 3 of the victims were roommates in the house, and Kernodle's boyfriend, Chapin, was staying overnight, according to investigators. If you don't know anything about the Idaho case, wow, I should have done a little recap, but there is a whole playlist for you. A quadruple homicide in this tiny town, Moscow, Idaho. 4 University of Idaho students were murdered in this home. There were 2 survivors in the home, 2 roommates who were unharmed. And wow, this is so shocking from November last year. Okay. So we've got that. I've got documents to show you. I just quickly want to see what else I've got. I wanted to show you this quickly, where they say, let's quickly go to this article just to give you some context. Idaho quadruple murder victim Kaylee Goncalves would have been an aunt on Friday after her sister gave birth to a baby girl named Theodora Maddie K. Stevenson. Shame. Olivia Goncalves gave birth at 4:21 a.m. The baby's middle name memorializes Olivia's sister Kaylee and her best friend, Maddy Mogen. Kaylee and Maddy were best friends since the 6th grade. They went to the same high school, shared everything, including homework, then attended the same college. Kaylee's father, Steve Goncalves, said at a candlelight vigil for the 2 University of Idaho students. Okay, so if we look here, the Goncalves family page, they've actually shared pictures. Shame, this is so sweet. Theodora Maddie K. Stevenson arrived at 4:21 a.m., 6 pounds, 5.8 ounces, 19 inches. Olivia and Robbie are doing great. We are blessed. Okay. So if you didn't know, the Goncalves family, they've got their own page, the Goncalves family page. Yes. All right. Robin Ridge says, demolish it and rebuild a house for the unhoused, all new, a new beginning that gives hope. That's also nice. Yes. Interesting. Caroline says, the building is a piece of junk made to look nice on the surface, probably not up to code to start with. This is a maneuver to get rid of a junk structure and replace it with a better rental. Interesting. Okay. So now let's get to some of the documents. So I've just got so many here. We have, let me first show you this one. There's 4 of them that I've got for you. Wait, yeah. Okay. Let's do this. So this document had everybody in a frenzy. You guys were lighting my inbox up. And then the dockets and I were like, what, what is happening? Because this went crazy on social media for a second. But even my limited legal knowledge, I was like, wait a minute, that can't mean what they're saying it means, right? So they say in the Supreme Court of the state of Idaho, all of these, look at all the media companies. I can't even list, I'm not going to read them all. Look at them. You could see it, okay? All of these media companies, okay, versus, those are the petitioners versus the respondents. The respondents are 2nd Judicial District of the state of Idaho, County of Latah, Honorable Megan E. Marshall, Magistrate Judge. They say petition to intervene as real party in interest. So initially, how it was going wild on social media was like, oh my word, he wants to defend himself. And I'm like, what? Did he just pull a Ted Bundy? Is that what he's doing? Because that's what we think he wants to do, right? But no. So they say, comes now, Bryan C. Kohberger, by and through their attorney, Jay Weston. If you missed the update where he has this new attorney added, chief deputy litigation, co-counsel, co-defendant added, right? Then go check out that episode because we read through those documents last time as well. So comes now Bryan C. Kohberger, by and through their attorney, Jay Weston Logsdon, chief deputy litigation, and hereby petitions to intervene as a respondent in this action pursuant to IAR 7.1 and as permitted by IAR 5A. Now, what I did was I went and looked up those Idaho codes, the IAR 7.1 and the 5A, and then I was trying to make sense of all this, and I'm like, oh, okay, so hold on. They say intervention is warranted because Bryan Kohberger's right to due process and an unbiased jury cannot be fully represented or protected by the respondents, and his rights will be impaired if he is not permitted to intervene. So it doesn't mean he wants to defend himself. He just wants the right to participate, to be a respondent to all the, the media. There's a 173-page binder that I have as well, where the media is requesting a whole bunch, all kinds of documents. They want the 911 call and everything, of course, right? So I'm sure you guys all know who Andrea Burkhart is as well. A law tuber said, I can see how it's confusing. They just mean that he should have standing in the Supreme Court to argue about his own interests in the gag order, rather than depending on Judge Marshall and the state to defend his interests. But it would still be through his attorney. Sure. So that's what that means, right? Okay. So they say intervention is warranted because Bryan C. Kohberger's right to due process and an unbiased jury cannot be fully represented or protected by the respondents, and his right will be impaired if he's not permitted to intervene. This motion is timely as the petition was filed. This motion is timely as the petition was filed very recently, and no responsive pleadings have been filed by the respondent. To determine timeliness, the court considers 3 factors: the stage of the proceeding at which an applicant seeks to intervene, 2, the prejudice to other parties, and 3, the reason for and length of the delay. Okay, in this matter, not only is the filing of the petition very recent, but counsel for the petitioners has indicated it will be refiling the petition with verification. If granted leave to intervene, Mr. Kohberger is prepared to comply with all time frames set by this court. All right, the petitioner's request is replete with arguments as to balancing the rights of the public and media against Mr. Kohberger's rights. This court should permit Mr. Kohberger to defend himself. You see, that really got people going. To defend himself rather than require the respondents to do so by proxy. Before filing this motion, counsel for Mr. Kohberger conferred with counsel for the petitioners and respondents. Counsel for Judge Marshall indicated that they have no objection to this request to intervene. For the reasons discussed herein, Bryan C. Kohberger respectfully requests that the court grant his motion to intervene in this matter as a respondent. Date the 15th of February 2023. William says the heading should be on the next page. Petition to intervene as a real party in interest. Certificate of delivery, so you could see that all there. Then, let's quickly look what other document I have. Let me quickly close this one. Close current tab. Yes. We've got this one. Wait. 2, 2, 3. Wait, that one is a big one. Hold on. We want this one. Yes. Okay. I'm just showing you some of the latest legal documents here. Okay, so they say in the District Court of the 2nd Judicial District of the State of Idaho. So State of Idaho plaintiff versus Bryan C. Kohberger. I see a lot of you are saying Murphy's Dog Park. That's really cute. I like that. All right, so they say this matter came before the court on February 10th, 2023, on the stipulation to file the defendant's Exhibit A, attached to the defendant's first supplemental request for discovery under seal. The hearing was held via Zoom. William W. Thompson Jr. and Ashley Jennings appeared on behalf of the state, and Taylor appeared on behalf of Mr. Kohberger. The court reviewed the stipulation, considered the arguments presented, weighed the interest in privacy and public disclosure, and announced its findings of fact on the record. Therefore, pursuant to the ICAR, all those numbers right, the court finds it necessary to seal Exhibit A. Now, I don't know exactly what Exhibit A is, but to seal Exhibit A because, one, the documents contain facts or statements that might threaten or endanger the life or safety of individuals, and two, it's necessary to preserve the right to a fair trial, and three, disclosure would constitute an unwarranted invasion of personal privacy. Like, I wonder if Exhibit A, they say the document. So Exhibit A must be a document of sorts. Okay, it's hereby ordered that the defendant's Exhibit A attached to the defendant's first supplemental request for discovery shall be filed under seal. So that's that document as well. Okay, now let me close this one. Got two more, and then I'm going to read you an article. This one, okay, says in the District Court of the 2nd Judicial District of the State of Idaho, in and for the County of Latah, State of Idaho plaintiff versus Bryan C. Kohberger. 2. The defendant, Bryan Christopher Kohberger, and counsel Ann Taylor, comes now the State of Idaho by and through the Latah County prosecuting attorney and submits the following response to the defendant's first supplemental request for discovery. The state incorporates its January 23rd, 2023 state's response to request. Sorry, I always forget to do this. My bad. Okay, the state incorporates its January 23rd, 2023 state's response to request for discovery as if fully set forth at this point. The state has and will continue to provide discovery in accordance with Idaho Criminal Rule 16 and applicable law. Okay, so we got that one. And then finally, we get to this big one. Again, thank you to the docket for these documents. If you want to buy me a coffee, you can go to buymeacoffee.com, same as my link, but it's buymeacoffee.com/the docket. Okay? If you want to say thanks for the documents. We do love documents here at Grizzly True Crime, huh? Okay, so look at this one. This is 173 pages. I'm definitely not going to read you all of this now. It's in the Supreme Court of the State of Idaho. Okay, I've read through this myself, and I can see the gist of it really is that the media are petitioning against that gag order. So you can see all the media listed here, petitioners, okay, versus the 2nd Judicial District of the State of Idaho, County of Latah, Honorable Megan E. Marshall, Magistrate Judge. Petition for a writ of mandamus or a writ of prohibition. Petitioners, respondents, and they go. Okay, so I'm going to read you a little bit of this. Don't worry, the first 10 pages are quite interesting. All right, I'm just looking at what you guys are saying. Somebody not loving the dog park idea. Not loving the dog. So tell me what idea you guys would like. Memorial, not that we have a say, they're not asking us. I just want to know what you guys think should happen to that space. It's always interesting, right? Okay, so they say, petitioners, a coalition of media companies, request that the court issue a peremptory writ of mandamus or a peremptory writ of prohibition, ordering the respondents, Latah County District Court and Honorable Megan E. Marshall to vacate the amended non-dissemination order entered on January 18th, 2023. As the court surely knows, this past November, 4 students at the University of Idaho were murdered at a home near the campus. The tragedy is a matter of public interest that has garnered attention and inflicted great sorrow throughout the university. HJE says Kohberger still follows the girls on Insta. Shocking. Thank you, HJE. There's also lots of fake accounts too. I don't doubt that his account would still. But man, so many Kohberger accounts have popped up too. Okay, so they say the tragedy is a matter of public interest that has garnered attention and inflicted great sorrow throughout the university, the state, and the country. For months, law enforcement carefully kept confidential the details of the ongoing investigation. In late December, and to the surprise of the public, Bryan C. Kohberger was arrested and charged with the murders. At a press conference announcing the arrest, the authorities declined to provide much information about the investigation. Instead, sorry, wait, I lost my place there. I scrolled too quick. Too quick there. Hold on. Okay, in late December, to the surprise, yes, okay. The press conference, yes, instead deferring to the release of the probable cause affidavit. To this day, the public's knowledge about Mr. Kohberger's prosecution is largely limited to court filings and speculation on the internet. Although there is no history of extrajudicial statements that could prejudice Mr. Kohberger's right to a fair trial, his attorney and the prosecutor stipulated to a gag order prohibiting attorneys, investigators, and law enforcement personnel from making any extrajudicial statements, written or oral, concerning the case other than a quotation from or reference to, without comment, the public records of the court in this case. Declaration of Wendy J. Olson, XA, the parties submitted no evidence that Mr. Kohberger would be prejudiced absent the requested order. The stipulation merely said, as this court is aware, this case involves matters that have received a great deal of publicity. That same day, and without a hearing, the district court issued the requested order. Olson, Dec. XB, the district court did not make any factual findings in its order. 15 days later, the district court, on its own, and again without a hearing, issued an amended gag order. Unlike the original gag order, the amended gag order at least notes there is a balance between protecting the right to a fair trial for all parties involved and the right to free expression as afforded under both the United States and Idaho constitutions. To preserve the right to a fair trial, some curtailment of the dissemination of information in this case is necessary and authorized under the law. Although the district court is correct that there is a balance between the right to a fair trial and the right to free speech, the district court made no factual findings to support its conclusion that a gag order was necessary in this case. In addition, the district court, again on its own and without a hearing, expanded the scope of its gag order to include the attorneys for any interested party in this case, including the prosecuting attorney, defense attorney, and any attorney representing a witness, victim, or victim's family, as well as the parties to the above entitled action, including but not limited to investigators, law enforcement personnel, I suppose, and agents for the prosecuting attorney or defense attorney. The gag order has restrained petitioners' rights to gather and publish information about this newsworthy matter. So the media, they are petitioning against the gag order, right? So, for example, they say a victim's family wants to speak with the press about Mr. Kohberger's prosecution, but they feel bound by the gag order. A Washington agency has requested declaratory relief to determine whether, consistent with a gag order, it can produce the 911 tapes in response to public records requests. Major Christopher Paris of the Pennysylvania State Police told reporter Chris Ingalls that he could not answer whether police had launched any review of unsolved cases that could be linked to Mr. Kohberger because of the gag order. Moscow Mayor Art Betcher told reporter Erika Zucco that the city attorney advised he could not answer questions about the overall community healing in Moscow because of the gag order. So what I'm interested in reading here is you could see how many requests the media has been making for this information, right? Journalist Taylor, I'm not even going to try to, wait, let's try. Murfendereski's public records requests were denied by the Latah County Sheriff's Office, Moscow Police Department, Pullman Police Department, and Washington State Police Department because of the gag order. The Moscow Police Department issued a press release that due to this court order, the Moscow Police Department will no longer be communicating with the public or the media regarding this case. Gary Jenkins, Chief of Police at Washington State University, and Matt Young, Communication Coordinator for the City of Pullman, told reporter Morgan Romero that they could not answer whether Mr. Kohberger applied for a graduate assistant research position with the Pullman Police Department because of the gag order. The Moscow Police Department refused to advise a reporter from the Idaho Statesman how many cell phone towers are in the area near where the murders occurred, the size of Mr. Kohberger's cell, the size of the Moscow jail, and the nature of Mr. Kohberger's meals because of the gag order. And so, you guys, this is a lot of words to read. Right? So the point is they're listing everything they want. They wanted to get hold of that information. And so they say, okay, I'm going to continue reading a little bit. As explained further in the accompanying memorandum, the court should apply strict scrutiny to the amended gag order. The amended gag order fails under that standard because there's no evidence that pretrial publicity will prejudice Mr. Kohberger's right to a fair trial, or that less restrictive methods could not prevent or cure any prejudice. In any event, the amended gag order fails under any standard because the district court failed to take any evidence, make any factual findings, or consider any alternatives short of a gag order. As a result, with each passing day, the gag order irreparably harms petitioners by suppressing their rights under the First Amendment of the United States Constitution and Article 1, Section 9 of the Idaho Constitution, unless it's Article I. The court should promptly stop any future irreparable harm by vacating or nullifying the amended gag order. See that? I know. Jesse's like, I mean, they can't even say how big his cell is, really? Not because of that gag order. You're not allowed to know, okay? So, yes, you can see everything is signed here and here as well. In the Supreme Court of the state of Idaho, you can see all of this. And look at this, the case that they're making. They're 173 pages, you guys. They're making their case of like, listen, let me tell you why we are petitioning this gag order. So, very interesting. Okay, so I'm not gonna read more of it. I'm going to put this document on Patreon after this episode if you do want to read through all of it yourself. I've read it all myself, but the gist of it is what I've shared, is that the media is like, this is a little too strict. Like, don't you think that at least some people can talk just a little bit, or what is going on here, right? So, yes. Okay, so now the last thing I want to show you is this article here by the Idaho Statesman. And there's a lot of repetition in here, things we already knew. Maybe if you missed the episode, you don't know it, but it's background on Bryan Kohberger. But there's some things in here, little bits of information. I'm like, what? I've never heard that before. So let's get into some of this. We'll make it nice and big for you, right? Kat M says, thanks for your compassion in all you do. Everyone, have a happy day. Thank you so much, Kat. And yes, everyone, I hope you are having a happy day. If you missed the good news episode yesterday, please check it out, about JJ Rowland that was found. That was a much needed episode in true crime recently. It was really great news. Robin Rich says, I vote for more transparency. Yeah. Okay, so they say, okay, this is now the Idaho Statesman article. Now it's story time. A dense gray cloud settled above Monroe County in the first days of February, blocking the sun's attempts to break through. More than a month since the U.S. shifted its gaze to this rural region, a shame has fallen over its residents, the result of an incomprehensible crime on the other side of the country. Situated below the forested hillsides in Broadheadsville lies the Pleasant Valley School District's two-story brick campus, where Bryan Kohberger went to school and later worked. 2 weeks after Martin Luther King Jr. Day, a quote from the holiday's inspiration still featured on the district's public message board. Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. In December, Kohberger was taken into custody in the cover of night. Instantly, a quaint community, used to the calm of its remote geography, became a new epicenter in the widening investigation into November's University of Idaho homicides. The 28-year-old alleged killer hails from the area's bundle of townships and was staying with his parents when law enforcement burst in and ended a 7-week manhunt. One tormented community grew to 3 as news surfaced that Kohberger, a Washington State University graduate student, was arrested in eastern Pennsylvania, some 2,500 miles from the crime scene. 4 college campuses were entangled in the tragedy, but unlike the sister cities of Moscow, Idaho, and Pullman, Washington, grieving together, Kohberger's hometown was made to ache in isolation. For the community here, it's devastating, said John Gress, the principal of Pleasant Valley High School, when Kohberger graduated in 2013. Out of all the schools, out of all the areas, why? It's so disappointing, and I don't know if we'll ever find out why. Here you can see one of his yearbook pictures. Neighbors of the red-roofed four-bedroom home on an acre in nearby Effort, Pennsylvania, where Kohberger was raised, were just as astounded. For years, their children took the same route to school from the same corner bus stop as him. They remembered the quiet, heavy-set boy who was picked on over his weight. He sat up front and mostly kept to himself. Today, Kohberger is charged with first-degree murder and the stabbing deaths of 4 college students. U of I seniors Madison Mogen and Kaylee Goncalves, each 21, junior Xana Kernodle 20, and freshman Ethan Chapin 20. And Kohberger's old neighborhood is left to try to make sense of a senseless act. No bells ever went off, said Barbara Tokar, 58, a nearby homeowner and mother of one of Kohberger's classmates, adding that her daughter told her she never noticed any possible warning signs. It makes me sick in my stomach. You never know. You just never know. Latah Green, 27, grew up 4 homes from the house where Kohberger lived, and they both graduated from the high school in 2013. She recognized the unusual nature of such national attention on the small community where the school district remains one of the country's largest employers. You see it on the news, it's surreal, Green told the Idaho Statesman from her driveway. Since moving back home with her family after college, Green said she's heard about the passing of several Pleasant Valley classmates, rattling off the list of causes. Drugs, car accident, drugs, military, drugs again. Drug abuse is a problem in the area. The region has one of the highest rates of overdose deaths in one of the worst hit states for the U.S. opioid epidemic. Kohberger had his own lengthy battle with drug addiction, several former friends told the Statesman. Although a number of deaths and incidents concerned past schoolmates, Kohberger's situation is entirely different, Green said. It's actually very sad, and there's a lot to take into mind and factor, she said. We don't know why, and it's sad to hear on both sides. Look at this. They say, desire to be the alpha. For Kohberger's former circle of friends during high school, the allegations were immediately jarring and difficult to comprehend, even for those familiar with his unpleasant side. It's hard to put into words, Thomas Arns, 27, told the Statesman in a phone interview. It was the initial shock of hearing what he had been accused of. My first thought was, where is he now? Are my parents safe? Because you couldn't process it all at once. Arns remembered Kohberger as similar to himself when they met in their early teens, awkward and fairly reserved. During hangouts after school and on the weekends, they bonded over video games and wandering the wooded neighborhood. Arns said he came to appreciate Kohberger's sense of humor, wit, and ability to observe. But Arns said he hadn't spoken to Kohberger in about 8 years, having chosen to cut ties because he said his friend's personality grew grating over time. Wow, a grating personality. Kohberger would frequently play mind games with him, Arns said, including once when he was upset after the death of his aunt. He made clear to Kohberger that he wasn't in the mood, but his friend refused to relent with what Arns called psychological mistreatment that became more commonplace. He always wanted to be dominant physically and intellectually, said Arns, who was a year behind Kohberger in school. He had to show that he was smarter and bigger than you, try to put me down, make me feel insecure about myself. So much of that was a torment, and I didn't want to be around him anymore. By high school, Kohberger told friends of his interest in law enforcement. His sophomore year high school yearbook features Kohberger dressed in a uniform in the midst of a push-up during his law enforcement class at the county's half-day technical school. Kohberger hoped to become an Army Ranger, the caption read, but his interest was primarily law enforcement, Arns said. So there's just a couple of little things in here that I'm like, oh, interesting. That they confirming things that before were little bit, just what some of the friends had said, and a little bit of rumor, sort of. But now it's like, oh, okay, they've had interviews with these people, and it's just solidifying what they've already said. Okay, so they say the program helps students eventually become a police officer, firefighter, or EMT, said Donna Yozwiak, Kohberger's guidance counselor through most of high school. His parents, who also work for the school district, were active in attending meetings to help steer their son, she said. I recall no problems. He was a regular kid, and thankfully his parents were involved in his education, Yazbek told the Statesman in a phone interview, adding that she remembered Kohberger as a good student. I don't recall anything that was out of the ordinary. Gress, a high school's principal until retiring in 2017, told the Statesman that he was an administrator who made efforts to get to know students in his 2 decades in his position and 41 years in the school district. He only vaguely recalled Kohberger, he said, in part because Kohberger was enrolled half the day at the off campus technical school and wasn't involved in any after school activities offered by the district. I'm just glancing here and there to see what you guys are saying. Rob said Bryan needed to take a few more classes. Yes, we were talking about this earlier. That's so horrible. Did anyone else see those people in front of the house dancing, making TikTok videos? That is terrible. Okay. What many people do remember of Kohberger from his high school years was his considerable weight loss. The dramatic change occurred between his junior and senior years, Arns and two other former friends said. Kohberger started kickboxing every day after school and running in the evenings with a neighbor. And that he also was doing at WSU. So even, 10 years later, 9 years later, he was doing that, going for runs at night, right? He also became hyper focused on what he ate, his friends recalled, to the point that he developed an eating disorder that required hospitalization. We had touched on that before, but here they say it like that as well. Jack Bayless, 28, another of Kohberger's inner circle at the time, told the Statesman. Arns estimated that Kohberger weighed more than 300 pounds, and the weight he lost was as much as half of his body mass. And this I didn't know. They say, and it was so rapid that Kohberger had tummy tuck surgery because he was left with so much excess skin. Arns and Bayless said. Kohberger's high school yearbook photos from his sophomore through senior year, reviewed by the Statesman, showed his physical transformation. During the same period, Arns said Kohberger's personality also shifted and he became more aggressive. Arns provided similar details in an interview with the FBI, he said. It almost seemed to me he had a desire to be the alpha, Arns said. For no reason, he tried to grapple me, put me in headlocks when I didn't want to. He tried to portray it as just boys being boys, but that's not the way I ever took it. Years later, after Arns enlisted in the US Army and was deployed overseas, that must have made him pretty jealous, huh? Yeah, the red stiletto was like, what? When I read it, that was my reaction. Sorry, what? He was 300 pounds. Tummy tuck? At what age? Right? Okay. So they say years later, after Arns enlisted in the US Army and was deployed overseas, Kohberger sent him a Facebook message offering his congratulations, he said, and apologizing for how he treated him when they were younger. Arns said he didn't respond. Monroe County rests at Pennsylvania's northeastern edge, bordering New Jersey, and is just one county over from the New York state line. Consequently, the Poconos region sits adjacent to the nation's largest heroin trafficking hub and market, according to the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration. Saying all those YouTube trigger words right now. If you could please hit the thumbs up, it could help other people see this video. Because all those words, YouTube hates it, and they'll make sure to be like, okay, we're not going to show this video to anyone. So I'm counting on you guys to share it. Pennsylvania maintains one of the nation's highest rates of drug overdose deaths annually, consistently in the top 5 in recent years, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reported. In 2020, Monroe County far outpaced the state in the category, ranking third among Pennsylvania's 67 counties, according to the latest data available from its Department of Health. By comparison, Idaho and Washington state routinely rank in the bottom 20 nationally for the deaths from drug overdoses. Between the 1990s and 2010, Monroe County's population nearly doubled to 170,000 as more people from Pennsylvania's neighboring states flooded in during Kohberger's upbringing. The close of his high school career and the years that followed, Kohberger's friends said, were marked by a marijuana habit graduating into a heroin addiction. Yes, that's what I'm wondering. SW 4x4 Explorer says he should have been young enough not to need a tummy tuck unless he lost it very, very quickly. It sounds like he lost it very, very quickly, right? Black Widower says, thanks, the docket, you're kind. Yes, the docket is. Okay, so they say Kohberger attended the attended the county's technical program his sophomore and junior years of high school, but he switched for his junior year from law enforcement to focus on heating, ventilation, and air conditioning like his father, who worked in maintenance at the school district for a time. For reasons that are unclear, Kohberger then transitioned out of the technical school his senior year to earn his diploma through the high school's online program. Neither Kohberger's HVAC instructor, who today works as a technical school administrator, nor his law enforcement instructor returned interview requests from the Statesman. Tanya Carmela Beers was at the time a technical school administrator who oversaw student discipline and mental health. She remembered Kohberger, she told the Statesman, and acknowledged that her interactions with him would have fallen within that scope. Carmela Beers, a cool name, Carmela Beers, declined to answer questions about Kohberger, citing protection of such information under the Federal Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. But she spoke generally about the circumstances that could force a student to change their focus within the program. Sometimes, depending on the disciplinary offense and any issues surrounding it, it may not be the student's choice to be removed from a program, particularly a program that might have many rules and regulations in place, Carmela Beer said by email, noting the law enforcement program barred certain behaviors. In general, a student can be very strong academically and perform very well in clinical work, but one or more infractions would take the opportunity to participate in that program anyway. Casey Arns, 29, who graduated high school 2 years ahead of Kohberger, also was among his circle of friends, along with her younger brother Thomas. As an upperclassman, Kohberger started spending time with another group of high school kids with whom she and her friends didn't gel, Casey Arns recalled. Honestly, I feel he was looking for validation, and that's why he fell into that crowd, she told the Statesman in a phone interview. And honestly, it's why he fell into the whole drug scene. Jonathan says, 30 minutes behind and catching up. I dare you to try that 1.5 or 2 times speed. Jeremy, I don't know if it's Saba or Saber. Saber? A neighbor 2 houses from Kohberger's childhood home was part of that group and introduced Kohberger to heroin. Bayless, Casey, and Thomas Arns said, Saber and Kohberger can be seen together in a photo that Saber posted on his Facebook in August 2016, 4 months after Saber was arrested and charged with a DUI and misdemeanor possession of drug paraphernalia. He later pleaded guilty to both charges, according to Pennsylvania court records. I didn't like him personally because he got my boy into heroin, Bayless said by phone, mentioning his falling out with Kohberger for several years over his drug issues. I think drugs goofed him pretty bad. Goofed him. He was having a time. He'd tell me, I'm clean now, I'm totally clean now, and he'd have bleeding track marks on his arms. Kohberger had no known criminal record before he was charged with 4 counts of murder and 1 count of felony burglary in the November 13th Moscow homicides. Saber was arrested again in September 2018 for misdemeanor possession of a controlled substance, pleaded guilty, and received a year probation. In March of 2021, Saber, 27, died of an accidental drug overdose, according to the Monroe County coroner. Now, I wonder if Kohberger had kept any contact with any of these friends, because we'll see here now 2 of them passed away. Here's one in March 2021. So I wonder if that affected him at all, even though he's innocent or proven guilty. We literally don't know. We don't know anything until the trial. Okay, so I always remember to say that. Let me just quickly do this. Sorry about that, everyone. I'm just going to have to slow it down just a little bit. If you are a member, don't worry. Slow-mo doesn't apply to you. It's one of those cool YouTube features. All right. So, hey, Captain Kurt reacts. Thank you so much. You say, that's crazy. Everyone's been emailing me saying you gave me a shout out. I can't quite find the clip. If you can send me the clip, I would love to see it. All right. So, they say in high school, Kohberger also started using heroin with classmate Ashley Flugel, Thomas Arns said. Flugel later faced a raft of drug charges in 2017 and 18, including a felony count of intent to distribute a controlled substance. In May of 2018, before her court appearance, Flugel, 23, died of an accidental drug overdose, according to the county coroner's office. So she died in May of 2018, and this other friend died in March of 2021. Between Kohberger's frequent invites to smoke MJ, he told Casey Arns in March 2013 that he finished his online school requirements early, according to screenshots of Facebook messages that Arns provided to the Statesman. He was looking forward to college that August, Kohberger wrote. HJE, can you please explain exactly what a gag order is? I would highly recommend checking out my previous episodes where we went over that entire gag order, because that explains it a lot better than what I can do here in one sentence, especially because I'm not a lawyer at all. So, but we did go over it then, you know. So please do check out the Idaho playlist that I made for you. Thank you all for being here. I hope you're having a good Saturday so far. The true crime news is always, not always actually. Yesterday was good news. Mostly it's very sad, very grim, difficult, but it's nice that we can go over some of these things together. So thank you for choosing to spend your time with me on a Saturday or whenever you're watching this on a replay. Sarah says about the house demolishing, I would love to see a safe center built where people can get counseling and a garden with benches built where students can study or hang out making happy memories. That's quite nice as well, yeah? And Darlene says, thank you, Darlene. I think the apartment should have been donated to the families. Then they should have been the ones to decide what should have been the outcome. Very interesting as well. So they say in high school, Kohberger also started using heroin with a classmate. Okay, that's Ashley, who died in May of 2018. Between Kohberger's frequent invites to smoke NJ, he told Casey, we read this, sorry, just getting my place again, getting my place. So everything, the pictures are blocked here. Otherwise, there's millions of ads for you. So I blocked the ads. Okay. He was looking forward to college that August, Kohberger wrote. About 2 months later, Kohberger reached out to her again and asked for a ride after he said his car broke down, and she agreed to help him, the messages showed. Weeks later, Casey Arns came to learn that Kohberger's errand was actually to buy heroin and needles, she said. He literally used me to get it, she told the Statesman. I was freaking out and not happy I had heroin in my car and didn't even know. The correspondence shows Casey Arns sent Kohberger a message that May, scolding him for putting her in jeopardy had Kohberger been caught. He responded with 3 words. I think he said, I know, sorry, something like that. I can't remember. It was here. It's just blocked now. Oh, here it comes. I'm in rehab. There we go. I'm in rehab, Kohberger wrote. He offered an apology more than 3 weeks later, which she rebuffed. Okay, so it said, I would like to hand you a big congratulations for lying to me about driving you around. I should have added it up beforehand, but I thought I was doing something nice for someone. So thank you. If you would have gotten caught, I would have gotten in trouble just for driving you around, not even knowing why. Needles for your aunt? Wow, real great story. Bye. He says, I'm in rehab. She said, I know that. And he said, sorry again. And she said, I don't want to hear it. Honestly, I don't want to hear it. Shortly after high school in January 2014, Kohberger again reached out to Casey Arns to ask how college was going. The Facebook messages showed. She responded that she was stressed out over school projects. Be proud. You're making something of yourself. I'm not. Ha ha, he wrote, saying he withdrew from college because he had to go to rehab. Life after was dull. Okay, so if he says life after was dull, oh dear. It's almost unbelievable. We're almost done with this, okay? During the work week, regulars slide in to occupy one of the 10 seats at the bar at Lynn's Motel on State Route 115 in Effort, almost as soon as the doors unlatched at 4 p.m. On the first, one of the first in on a Wednesday in a school bus aide just got off work. She grumbled about losing a lunchtime bout with a stubborn piece of rye bread that knocked out 2 of her fillings, one on each side of her mouth. She's ready for her usual Seagram 7 and Sprite and make it a double. Sorry, I'm just like, what? Okay, adorned with time-worn red carpeting and wood-paneled walls, the local watering hole is one of few left in the area, and patrons are all on a first-name basis. A metal sign behind the bar declared the establishment a fallout shelter, with a folded piece of paper beneath it carrying a scrawled message that draws recurring laughs from customers. Do your drugs elsewhere. The bar doesn't see a lot of new faces. When it gets one, especially if they're visiting from Idaho, it garners the interest of the staff and the everyday clientele. They were all following the quadruple homicide case too, before it improbably landed on their doorstep with Kohberger's arrest late last year. Imagine how shocking that would be. Late last year at his parents' house just up the road along the oak-lined byways. I was watching the news and saw that they caught him, bartender Amy Miltner explained. And it's in Albrightsville. Wait, what? That's a mile from my home. imagine it? Becky says, I think they should plant 4 trees in that place. That could be nice too. Thanks for the sticker. Overhearing word of an out-of-towner from Idaho, an Army veteran seated at the corner of the bar with a pencil-thin mustache and a firm grip on a bottle of Coors Light, chimes in. Not from Moscow, I hope, he said. Well, welcome to the Poconos. Next door, Lynn's is a roadside pizzeria, formerly called New York Pizza Girl. Kohberger worked there in 2013 and 14. Rich Puska, a Pleasant Valley High School graduate, a few years older than the suspect, told Fox News and the New York Times last month. That we saw together, so it's on the Idaho playlist. I actually played a clip of his, so go check that out. Puska did not return the Statesman's request for an interview. Okay? He today works at a drug rehab clinic in the area, said he and Kohberger would use heroin together. He didn't have many friends, so he would do anything to fit in, Puska told Fox News. He was a big heroin addict, and so was I. I work in treatment and everything, but back then I was using, and so that's how I know for a fact that he was using. I got high with him a couple of times. Charles Conklin, 61, owns the building the pizzeria occupied, as well as the neighboring fish hatchery that includes a stocked lake where people pay to fish for a variety of trout and bass. In the summer of 2011, Kohberger briefly worked there a few months as well, cleaning people's catch, Conklin recalled, and Kohberger wrote on a school district job application obtained by the Statesman. Now, about a month ago or so, maybe it's even more now, there was someone that actually sent me, they wanted to remain anonymous, but they said, oh my word, he actually used to like gut fish, right? Like a part-time sort of job. And I'm like, what? That was pretty scary to hear that, based on the crime, of course. If you're doing that as a job, it's not scary in itself. But here they're saying it seems like he wasn't very good at it, right? They say he wasn't there long, however, Conklin told the Statesman, because Kohberger didn't show himself to be very personable with the customers and also wasn't improving at filleting the fish. He let him go. Oh dear. Oh dear. Evelyn says, hi, Grizz, where have you been? I was here twice yesterday. Did you look at that? Did you see it? Yesterday, David Robinson was on the show, Daniel Robinson's father. Please go check that episode out and share it as well. And yesterday we had another stream sharing good news for once in true crime. So if you missed that, go check it out. And if you're not getting your notifications, I would highly recommend joining Patreon, because there, the notifications, they're solid. You will always get them. So I usually remind people that I'm going live over there. And so for like $1, you can get all your notifications sorted. Also, I'm going to finish reading this. I just want to say, for anyone who can't stay right now, I want to finish this, but we are going to have a members and patrons only stream right after this, okay? So make sure you look out for your notifications, community tab, okay? Members, you need to look at the community tab right after the stream. Patrons, you're going to get a notification easy peasy in your inbox. Okay, so to continue on here, Bryan Kohberger wasn't very good at filleting the fish. Damn, okay, you got let go from a lot of jobs, huh? Shame. So I just mean, I'm not trying to empathize based on what he did. I'm just saying, like, it seems like a whole succession of things where, yeah, he got fired from a lot of jobs, got rejected a lot, all this kind of stuff. So they say you've got to do a good job on your cuts. You have to be friendly to people, at least try to make some eye contact, Conklin said. It just wasn't his thing. Within an hour of Kohberger's arrest in December, Conklin said he got a call from a former longtime employee who reminded him of the high school kid they fired more than a decade ago. The revelation floored him. There aren't words to describe how disturbing it was, Conklin said. We're a small area, small community, so for things like that to happen, shocking. Totally shocking. I know this is shocking for anyone, and for him to be from this area and actually worked here, it's almost unbelievable. Several years after they last spoke, Bayless said he and Kohberger reconnected. Bayless said the two would exchange Facebook messages and Kohberger would call him to talk every week or so. Kohberger told him he no longer used drugs when the subject came up. Thank you so much, Amanda, for joining. Okay. So they say. At some point, he said, don't ever bring it up again. We're past that, Bayless told the Statesman. In May 2018, Kohberger told Bayless in messages on Facebook that he hadn't used drugs in 2 years, according to screenshots Bayless shared with the New York Times. I only used when I was in a deep suicidal state, the Times reported. Kohberger wrote to Bayless. I have since really learned a lot. Not a person alive could convince me to use it. Casey Arns said, She ran into Kohberger a year before that at a mutual friend's wedding, which was the last time she saw him. He appeared to have pulled his life together, she said, and shared that he was in college and working as a security officer for the Pleasant Valley School District. Okay, let me just see here. SW4x4 Explorers, thank you so much. You say, FYI, donation to college gives the owner almost $480K write-off. Zillow, no need to pay for demo, no repairs, etc. If given to family, zero tax write-off. Wow, okay. Incredible. Okay, so we're almost there. It was so good to see someone come back from that dark place, Casey Arns told the Statesman, saying she gave Kohberger a big hug when she greeted him. He was kind of standoffish and not very sociable. I believe he left early as well. Kohberger started with the school district in 2016 as a fill-in custodian and courier before moving into security part-time. According to documents the Statesman obtained through a public records request, he was later credited in December 2018 with helping save the life of an employee at the high school after a medical emergency, the Pocono Record reported. In response to the records request, the school district cited Pennsylvania's exemptions in withholding several documents from public disclosure. Among them were those related to non-criminal complaints, written criticisms of an employee, or discipline records in a personnel file. Kohberger resigned from his position in June of 2021. Records released by the district showed. Yeah, very interesting, all this, very interesting. The Pleasant Valley School District did not respond to Statesman's request for comment beyond the public records request. Kohberger attended Northampton Community College in Eastern Pennsylvania and graduated in 2018 with a major in psychology, according to a school spokesperson. The school is unwilling to say anything else about Kohberger, directing all other questions to law enforcement. Kohberger went on to earn his bachelor's degree in 2020 and his master's in 2022 from DeSales University, according to a statement the university released the day that he was arrested. The university is about an hour south of the home where Kohberger's parents moved, and he continued to live while in college, public records indicated. DeSales faculty are not accepting interview requests about Kohberger, a university spokesperson told the Statesman by email. The university will cooperate with law enforcement's investigation. However, it can, she said, but declined to offer specifics. Kohberger majored in psychology for his bachelor's. Boyce Jubilin, chair of the DeSales Psychology Department, told the Philadelphia Inquirer the day of his arrest. He received his master's through the university's online criminal justice program. Michelle Bolger, professor in the DeSales Criminal Justice Department, told the Daily Mail last month. Now, you guys remember Dr. Catherine Ramsland, a famed forensic psychologist who teaches in the DeSales Criminal Justice Master's Program and collaborated on a book with the notorious murderer Dennis Rader, better known as the BTK killer. You know that lady? She's got a company that actually renovates murder houses. So there was a time where there was a rumor that maybe her company would renovate 1122 King Road, but now it seems like it's going to be demolished. Okay, so if you missed all that news, we shared that news in the beginning of the stream. I hope you go back and watch. Thank you for being here. So they say, they confirmed, to Lehigh Valley News that Kohberger took at least one course with her. In an email, she declined a Statesman's request for an interview. Last summer, before Kohberger started in Washington State's criminal justice and criminology PhD program in August, he posted a research questionnaire to Reddit seeking volunteers to discuss their decision-making and behavior in the midst of committing a crime. Bolger told the Daily Mail that she helped Kohberger with a project which was part of his master's thesis at DeSales. Jordan Cyrulnik, 34, owner of Seven Sirens Brewing Company in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, just north of DeSales, thinks Kohberger was through his tap room a handful of times from 2020 to 2022. Cyrulnik told NBC News in December that he approached the man he believes to be Kohberger to ensure that he behaved while at the brewery after female patrons and staff said he previously made them feel uncomfortable and made rude comments. We've also gone over that before. It looked like him. His name was Bryan, and it was in that time frame, Cyrulnik recounted to the Statesman this month while seated at the bar. He seemed dumbfounded, finished his beer, and I never saw him again. Since then, Cyrulnik said he's been hounded by members of the media and people who said he was just chasing publicity related to Kohberger and the Idaho homicide case. He rejected the notion, saying he's turned down interviews with Dr. Phil and documentary projects underway about Kohberger. I don't want anything about this, Cyrilnik said. He was just a customer we had to address. It was anticlimactic. I thought it would have blown over by now, but I still get calls. Kohberger showed similar behaviors while attending WSU's PhD program. Fellow graduate school classmates told The Statesman last month. During the fall semester, he was said to be increasingly condescending towards women in class discussions. In December, Kohberger was fired from a teaching assistant position for failing to meet the norms of professional behavior, according to the New York Times. He had repeat altercations with a criminal justice professor under whom he worked, did not improve upon his conduct and performance, and also exhibited concerning behavior around female students, including allegations, this I also didn't know, including allegations that he followed one to her car. So in this article, we've learned about the tummy tuck. We've learned more about his heroin use with friends. We learned more about him psychologically abusing a friend when his aunt died. And now they're also saying, including allegations that he followed a female student to her car. WSU faculty at the end of the year meeting chose to pull Kohberger from the role, eliminating his funding for the PhD program, according to the Times. The university sent him a termination letter on December 19th, 3 days after the end of finals for the fall semester. Kohberger's first term at WSU, first term. Damn, right? By then, Kohberger was back home. He had left Pullman for winter break, driving across the country with his father in a 2015 white Hyundai Elantra and arriving at the family's house in Pennsylvania on December 16th, according to a probable cause affidavit. Kohberger was arrested at the home on December 30th and on January 4th and was flown to Idaho, where he awaits his next scheduled court appearance in June. I believe it's June 26th. 7 weeks after law enforcement extracted him from this outlying area of the Northeast, community members said they remain baffled. Donna Yoswak, Kohberger's high school guidance counselor, said she immediately remembered Kohberger as word of the incident spread across Monroe County, where she still lives. Like many, she says, she was shocked. Despite the nation's ongoing attention on the case, including its intense focus on the Poconos, Yoswak said she wants to see the judicial process play out properly, as we all do. Perhaps then, she said, those impacted can begin to heal on both sides of the country and the world. But I know they mean Pennsylvania and Idaho. I'm watching the news as well as thousands of other people, she said. I'm just hoping that this all works out and just that the truth comes out. That's all we can hope for. Right? Now, are you glad I read that to you? Because let me show you something. You can have this article read to you, but then it's going to sound like this.
Neighbors recall Idaho homicide suspect. A dense, gray cloud settled above Monroe County in the first days of February, blocking the sun's attempts to break through.
If you prefer my voice over the bot guy, give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up. Thank you so much for listening to me really work my vocal cords today as we work through 4 documents, 10 pages of the 173-page one that I'm going to put on Patreon. We went over the house that's going to be demolished, the possible photos that Kohberger allegedly had on his phone. Kaylee would have been a niece. Her sister Olivia just gave birth to a new baby girl. So we looked at that as well. So if you missed any of that and you want to check it out, just go to the replay afterwards. Okay. Thank you again to the docket for all the documents that we looked at today as well. I love documents so much. I'm total nerd that way. I had to get so excited for documents. So thank you so much all for being here. I think you guys like it too in general. Scott is giving the thumbs up. If you could hit it there as well, the actual thumbs up, that'll be amazing. If you wouldn't mind, subscribe, hit the bell, share this episode as well. I'll see you on Twitter if you do share it. Normally I would retweet if you tag me or if you use hashtag Grizzly True Crime as well. Now, let me just quickly check the time. Okay. I'm a little ahead of schedule, but in the next 10 minutes or so, I'm going to have a patrons and members on his stream. Normally there, if you're wondering, what do we do there? Sometimes we just chat about little updates in multiple cases, or you guys can ask me questions if you want. We just kind of, hang out as Grizzlies and talk true crime generally. Sometimes we get snarky too when needed. So, and there you don't have to censor your words or anything like that. You could just be there with us. Don't get too dirty now, but I'll see you over there. So make sure if you're on Patreon, you're going to get a notification right now after this. If you're a member, you need to check the community tab for the link, okay? And don't share the link. It's just for patrons and members where we all join in one stream together. And if you're wondering what's the difference between the two, I'll tell you now. Matt Bond says, I don't know, happy Audible guy is tempting. I'll link the audio. Actually, the article's linked in my description box. You can go listen to him if you want. I first listened to that. I'm like, wait, what? So I just want to say the difference between the two is Patreon is a great source of support for content creators because they deduct how much? 10%. YouTube takes 50% of everything that you guys do over here, stickers and membership and everything. 50% versus the 10%. So Patreon is really awesome. So thank you to everyone who's made it over to Patreon. I really appreciate it. And of course, thanks if you are a member here too. I will see you guys very soon. To everyone that subscribe here, I'm probably going to do a live stream tomorrow. I've got something planned. So make sure that you are subscribed with the bell on so you don't miss that. Usually that would be, around noonish Eastern, something like that. So we will check it out. Thank you so much, mods. I really appreciate it. And I will see you guys all probably tomorrow then. Okay, I've got lots of work to do till tomorrow, but tomorrow sometime. All right, happy Saturday to you. Happy weekend. Stay safe and be kind to yourself, to others, and bye, everyone. Okay, wait, I almost clicked the wrong one. Ending time. Bye.